when I do a LinkedIn request, if it's from a marketing group or chamber or any virtual group, I usually will make an announcement during that testimonial point saying that I've reached out. I would say I'm getting probably 95% of people connecting with me, accepting it. Some people on LinkedIn as much or more than I am, and they don't check their inbox requests. They keep them everybody in a pending status. So check your inbox because people may have a lot more inbox requests than they realize. So for somebody that's never done LinkedIn, try bite size. Maybe you do your profile and you spend 5 minutes a day.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of More Clients, Less Effort. I'm recording today from my new apartment, which I'm super excited about. And I'm joined today by the amazing Tanya Scotece. Tanya, thanks for joining us.
Yes, my pleasure, Tim. Looking forward to collaborating with you, and congratulations on your new apartment.
Thanks very much. Now, for those listeners who know me reasonably well, I often joke that I have never worked in deathcare in any capacity. And here we are today interviewing a real life expert in mortuary and death care space. So Tanya, it's super interesting to get in this. So now I know you were a non-traditional student. You'd spent 21 years in the medical sector. You got your associate degree at the age of 35 as a single mum, stayed in school from 2003 to 2015, earned your PhD in 2015 from the university. You're proud, what do you say, for a resident of Florida? What do you call it? Floridan or something? I'm not sure.
Floridian.
There we go. But we're going to talk about today about a lot of interesting topics, and particularly sort of in relevance to death care, because I think one of the things we kind of forget is that marketing applies to the funeral sector and death care as much as it applies to any other industry. We just don't often think about it. Now, in 2019, you launched your own business. We write it now and never looked back from that. But I want to go back to 21 years in the medical sector, right? And what is it that fascinates you about death care that in 2003 you decide to make the switch?
Sure. So great question. Great question. I haven't been asked this in quite a long time. So to back up, my family, like my mom and dad, both were sole proprietors, sole entrepreneurs. My dad owned a travel agency. My mom owned a wedding center. So it was kind of, and I'm an only child. So growing up, it was kind of instilled like you're going to open up a business. Well, that's not my mindset. Like I would rather work for somebody else. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I have no desire to open up my own funeral home. Never did. So I started working at 16 years old for my geometry teacher, Margaret Daly's husband, Bob Daly, at a radiology office. And I started as a file clerk after school from 2 to 6 p.m., 5 days a week. Saturday was 8 to 12 at the age of 16 years old. When I graduated high school at 17, my birthday's at the end of the year, and I was born and raised in Connecticut. So there we kind of start school early. Like if you're before, I think it's end of August, you're so you start school at 4 years old, you graduate at 17. And when I graduated, university really wasn't in. It's just, I was more in, like my parents thought I was going to open up a business, which I didn't want to. So it was like, well, just the medical office. So they created a full-time job for me, and I was a receptionist, and I was making good money and I had full benefits. So I literally stayed at this one job from 16 years old till my mid-30s for one job. Went through 3 mergers with them. And I was always looking to take on things. For example, I started as a file clerk, receptionist, transcriptionist, medical coding billing. I did I think it was 12-month certificate for medical assisting. And I stayed in that wheelhouse. That was my wheelhouse for many, many years. And I finally jumped ship after the 3rd merger, and I went and managed an oncology office for Dr. Kenneth Kern. And it was, again, kind of stretching beyond my horizon. I knew medical like I knew my back of my hand, but it wasn't cardiology, it was oncology. So to fast forward, started working at the oncology office. Out of the clear blue, one day, managing the office, didn't think about this, didn't research it, didn't dream about it. drove into work. 10 o'clock in the morning or so, I decided to call a local funeral home in Connecticut out of the clear blue. And I
Mm.
just said, can you tell me what you people call yourselves? And I would like to do what you do. I didn't even know what the term was, what the vocabulary was, what schooling was needed. So they directed me to our US-based National Funeral Director Association, which is the NFDA. By 12 o'clock, I'm sitting in the program director's office, which was 20 minutes from the hospital where the office I was managing. And when my boss got out of surgery later that day, I asked if I could have Tuesday afternoons off at 3 p.m. so I could go to school. Well, he thought I lost my mind. It's like I've been managing this office for several years. Why out of the clear blue would I choose such a profession? And it was like, am I not paying you enough? Is everything okay? And
I know, it's like, what's going on here?
yeah, like, and again, it wasn't talked about, wasn't researched, nothing. So he said, yeah, not a problem. So I would make up the hours or whatever we discussed. And I started in school. And the interesting thing is I had always had a fascination, Tim, with being in the death care space. And what I mean by that is I can remember as a very young girl, there was a playground, swing, slides, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I would go walking and there was a little entrance to a cemetery. So I would go walking in the cemetery and I was fascinated by the markers, the headstones, trying to figure out how did somebody die and, I wonder where they lived. And so the curiosity factor had always been with me, but it wasn't until that point in my very early 30s that I decided to act upon it. So I started mortuary school. And the weird thing was that one semester shy, which was an associate program, of me completing the program, my boss had a heart attack and we had to close the practice. And I never really thought, how would I transition from having this great job to doing an internship at like a fraction of the money? But somehow it's like the universe literally just like exploded. And all of a sudden now I found myself on unemployment. So I was grateful to get the internship job because I was already out of work anyway. So that's a long answer to a question, but that's how I had always been fascinated since the age of 12. I went to my first wake and I'd never seen a deceased person prior to that time. And I'm just very curious, I guess, curious minded. So the medical just kind of fell upon me, just looking for a part-time job. But I'm very the type of person for perseverance. Well, you can see just from, 16-year-old job and staying through to my mid 30s.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned there, and I want to pull this out, particularly your own, because I didn't grow up in an old family at all. Mum was a teacher and dad was an ag scientist and working in government. And I'm the first person in my family to have run a business. So,
Oh,
conversely, it's interesting how we're shaped and guided by our parents' expectations, whether or not they're voiced or not, that we almost follow in their footsteps. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel right for us. And we just have to trust our own instinct to say, this is the path I want to take, and then surround yourself with people who can support that path. I'm curious to know what your friends thought of your choice to shift into the mortuary space.
yes. Well, I'll start with my own father. My father, I remember saying that I was going to go become it back in the day was a mortician. And he's like, you got first, like, you got to go to school for that. And second, like, why can't you go work in the States? We have like Nordstrom or Macy's or G Fox back in the day. It's like, why can't you go do something fun and happy? Like, why do you have to be with dead people? Like, and it was truly a calling, like truly a curiosity and a calling to understand it, because it wasn't like I came from family ties of owning a mortuary or funeral home. So I just really embraced it through the school and then got very much involved with the associations just to learn more. So those formative years, as I like to call them, mid 30s, single mom, trying to navigate mortuary. I flew myself to Modena, Italy, embraced myself with the national conventions here in the US, and really not for any other reason other than to educate myself about the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Is there any did you find there's stigma attached to that sort of thing? I mean, we all have preconceived notions about particular things, right? If you would suddenly get into used car sales, you're painted as being sleazy. It was interesting that you and I both in BNI as a networking organization And our team did a workshop recently with the business coach in our group where we said, what do you want to do? What do you think of, what are the three words that come to mind when you think of salesperson? It was interesting that the salespeople in the room have all gone facilitator, relationships, problem solvers, and various words. But there were a bunch of people who also said sleazy, scumbags, and so on. And we have stigmas attached to certain industry professions. I'm curious to know, what are the ones that you've come across in your space that your friends go, what do you do? Why?
Right. So yeah, so once the family, aka my dad specifically, was like, just do something fun and happy, and like, why do you have to be in like death care? My friends, the same thing. And also, it wasn't just a career switch, it was also having to go to school to get a degree to be in the field, right? So it wasn't like just like, okay, I'm working here for 40 hours a week and now I'm just going to go work there for 40 hours. So going to school, that was, first of all, that was the biggest probably fish out of water feeling, because here I was at that time, having navigated the business world, I was used to working, and having to go to college as a non-traditional student was just it was just I truly felt like a fish out of water. Those basic prerequisite courses, basic English, basic math, and those to me are really hurdles, especially because you're working all day, you're sitting in class at night. It's not even the area that you're interested in. So that to me was one of the biggest hurdles and or challenges at that time. As I became more involved with the school, taking then eventually the courses that I needed to become licensed as a funeral director and embalmer, I started to enjoy the coursework more. So if I was out, for example, at a coffee shop and somebody would see my embalming book, it would stop people, because it's like, oh, like there's a course in this. Or I remember one time taking a plane and the passenger next to me, like looking at me like, oh, like she has an embalming book. But people generally, unless you're in the death care space, don't even know it's a career. Like people think like, oh, you have to go to school for that. So I think that's the biggest like question. It's like, oh, and even today in 2025, people still like, oh, I didn't know you have to go to school. They have a degree in that. What's it called? So the field is dark, literally, because nobody even knows about it.
Right now, you do a couple of different things. You do some work in assisted living. You're a
Yes.
professor of mortuary. You're also an expert witness in the space in the legal profession as well, and get called on to comment on corpses, presumably in courts. And why the transition from employee back to business? Was it just I mean, your parents must be thrilled that they come back to the fold. 2019, why do you start your own business?
First, when I completed the funeral mortuary program in Connecticut, I graduated in 2005. And that was when my family and we moved to Florida. So there I had to do an internship, which I did complete at 1 year. And I stayed on with that funeral home to just be a funeral director and worked my way up into management, which is the space that I had come from, having been in the medical world. So one thing I really try to convey is that your skill sets are our skill sets. So if somebody has a management skill set or a leadership skill set, it doesn't really matter what you're leading. If you're a leader, you're a leader, especially an effective leader. So I was in the funeral home for almost, I think just under 13 years, probably about 12 and a half years. And I had stayed in school simultaneously. So when I moved to Florida, I switched from my associates into my bachelor's, right? The baccalaureate degree, into master's and then PhD. So when I finally finished school, that was so hard to get accustomed to in the first place, I spent from 2003 to 2015 full time in school, spring, summer, fall, nonstop for all those years. And when I graduated, my doctorate is actually in curriculum and instruction with adult education emphasis. So it's nothing mortuary related. So I was actually looking at, for example, airline industries, hospitality. That was more like just the area that I was looking at for training and development. And a colleague of mine, Melanie Wyszynski, if she's listening to this podcast, she called me out of the clear blue. I didn't know her all that well, and was like, Tanya, have you seen a position that's listed at Miami-Dade College? They're looking for a full-time professor, and you really are tailor fit for this job. Well, the funny thing, Tim, was I never considered myself an academic. I had just stayed in school because I finally got the hang of it. But I wasn't like a professor. Like that wasn't the lifelong dream. Like you said, your mom was a teacher, right? Like I wasn't, that was not the end all game. Honestly, I had never taught in a formal way. Like I had done training for the funeral home employees. I was in charge of creating manuals and doing different things, but I never taught at university or any other quote unquote career. So I applied and I actually landed a full-time position as a mortuary instructor back in 2018. And then I was appointed to the coordinator position in 2023 in January. So now I oversee the program at the college.
Mm,
And two things that kind of evolved from that. One is you asked about the senior placement. So my dad was diagnosed back in 2020. He passed in 2022 of Lewy body dementia, which is the type that Robin Williams had.
mm.
And like you, as a fellow BNIer, I consider myself fairly good networker. I'm almost approaching 20 years in BNI. I think just at 19 years right now. And I always considered myself like pretty good. I mean, I'm not here to be pretentious or boast, but a fairly decent networker. I could not find one soul to help me understand that my dad needed placement. And without understanding the system, without resources, it was like trying to find yourself in a forest to get out and you don't know what's there, trees or forest. So I spent several months trying to understand here in the United States as far as nursing home, which is skilled nursing facility, assisted living, understanding the cost. What do people do? Like, I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars a month. So folks, and we didn't have it. My dad, as I mentioned, was sole proprietor of a travel agency. There was no pension. There was no veterans benefits. So what does one do if you don't have $4, $5, $6,000 a month to sustain somebody that, aside from the dementia, is actually pretty well, can walk and talk and doesn't even need a cane? So finally came across this gentleman, Arnie Cowan, that owns Sunshine Senior Placement, which is a placement agency in Florida, matching seniors who can no longer live alone or choose not to live alone with the community. And he, upon that call, said, I can help you and I'll give you a call back within an hour. And I was like, wow, I've been searching on my own for several months, probably 3 months every day, and couldn't find, talk to attorneys, financial advisors, and everybody was just like, door closed, door closed. And Arnie says, no, 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 I'll help you.
They're all like, I don't really know much about this space.
Yeah, yeah, I knew nothing. So within an hour, hour and a half, he calls me and he says, I have 2 communities, go check them out and you can move your dad next week. I'm like, and it
It's interesting that we don't value. I mean, it sounds as Arnie been in the space for decades and accumulated that knowledge. We often don't value expertise, right? If you think about this, right? Think about this as you're listening to this. Think about this in your own business. Tell your clients to get an expert in a thing, whether it be a lawyer, a senior placement person for assisted living, a marketer, whatever you do. You would tell someone to go, hey, go and get an expert like me to solve the problem that you've got, because we bring 30, 20, 30, 40 years of accumulated knowledge to be able to get an answer like this. But then when we look at our own business ourselves, we often don't do that. So, well, I can build a website, so I'm going to go and do that. I can write copy, so I'm going to do that. I can work out TikTok after a few TikTok videos, go and do that. But often we don't necessarily value it in our own business to say, I can, if I spend the money getting an expert to do the thing, I'm going to get a better outcome than if I spent 3 months trying to research and banging my head against a wall, not really knowing what I'm looking for or what success looks like. I mean, you have one phone call and an hour and a half later, you've got your answer.
it was truly, I literally thought like the skies opened up. It was like the pot of gold. Like it was truly like, wow. And on top of it, it was free. It didn't cost me a dime. So I asked the question, well, how do you get paid? And the answer was, we get paid by the communities. So there's no cost to the client. And you just find the community, I'll give you 2. And the match was made. So to kind of collaborate with you, Tim, on your question as far as how I got into it. So as a fellow BNIer, I decided I was actually at that time representing the college. I did not hold the not-for-profit spot. I loved BNI so much. I was just soliciting goods for the food pantry and helping our students. And I
Yeah.
actually switched my category, unbeknownst to Arnie, and I started sending him clients. And I almost like I was working for him, but he didn't even know I was working for him because I just felt like it was just good karma to promote this business that no one, or at least I, knew nothing about. And
Mm.
I thought about it and I was like, it's interesting. If you think of marketing, right? And there's the old adages, for example, you think of the golden arches and people think of McDonald's, and you think of certain colors and you think of certain like Spirit Airlines, yellow, the yellow plane or yellow banana in the sky, right? There's certain things that have top of mind awareness. But when you say, well, where do you call or who do you talk to if somebody can't live alone? I don't think it's a common, like, who do you call? Like, who is helping you? And
Is
what
that is that a thing though? Being kind of out of sight, out of mind, because death is being a big fear for many people. We kind of almost pretend it is not happening, and therefore don't want to educate ourselves on end of life care. It's everybody, right?
Yeah, no. It's a great like insightful question and collaboration. From my perspective, even working in it, right? Having my own business, working in it for Arnie, I can share with you, most people don't understand it. Here in the States, most people do not understand. They think nursing home and assisted living, and if the funds aren't there, you stay in the nursing home. So I had person after person, oh, don't worry, your dad will get used to the nursing home. Well, the man has dementia, but he's many times was clear and is asking, why is he in a nursing home? Like, why is he even there? Like, so I think the education piece was lacking and still is. So I made it my mission to represent Sunshine Senior Placement Agency, to the point that Arnie called me and said, Tanya, why don't you come work for me? So I said, well, I already have a job. I'm a full-time professor. And he said, well, you're already sending me clients, so just keep your clients and do your own. So I call it my blessed work, matching people with communities who can no longer live alone. My area is the west and east coast of Florida. So I have a great territory. I love explaining. It doesn't cost anybody anything. And my mission on a bigger level is to get people, especially in Florida, out of a nursing home if they don't need it. Because nursing home is usually for people who are immobile, who are bedridden. So if you have somebody with dementia living in a nursing home, to me, that is very cruel because the person doesn't need that level of care.
Yeah, and they're not really sure why they're. It's a challenge that my aunt is facing right now. She's in hospital, doesn't understand why she can't drive and isn't allowed to, and doesn't understand where she's at and why she's
Yeah.
there, but otherwise relatively healthy. Let's switch tacks here. We're going to talk LinkedIn now, which I'm sure for many people are like, LinkedIn, what's LinkedIn got to do with end of life care and that sort of thing, assisted living? How do you use LinkedIn to promote this particular space and network as well?
Sure. So first of all, I don't have a TV. Okay, so I have to start there. I have not watched TV in, I think it's almost 30 years, 30. Okay. So I don't listen to the radio. I'm very
No
limited
wonder
on.
you've got so much time for study.
Exactly. So I have to preface your question with, from my perspective. So I have really no, like, I'm not watching TV. I've heard of Netflix. I don't know what Netflix is.
I'm just
So
saying, you would really suck at pop culture and trivia.
I really like, I think of me as like somebody from outer space that has just come into your podcast and it's like, wow. So I'm not big on Facebook or the Instagram or whatever the other one is called. I've heard it called different names. So LinkedIn, I, for somehow, some way, embraced LinkedIn. And I love the free version. I've many times have tried the upgrade, but I don't really see personally benefits. So I just do the free one. And I love LinkedIn. So I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I do my own posts. I do my own promotion. I get asked that's probably one of the number one questions I get asked is if somebody does my marketing. No, I get up, I sleep random hours and get up and I'm on LinkedIn And I just decided that's my platform to share about the school, about the program, career changes, highlighting my students' work, showcasing, giving them opportunities. I also promote the senior placement, educating people through videos, testimonials about what that looks like, and it's free. And then the third aspect is the expert witness. And that also evolved because I started connecting with personal injury attorneys who needed expert witness for funeral and cemetery wrongdoings. So that has become a very niche specific area. And I've worked with some amazing, amazing attorneys. And just again, I feel that my mission is to speak for the voiceless and speak for the people who don't have a voice anymore. And whether that's because A, they're deceased, okay? B, they have maybe don't have the capacity cognitively with dementia. And I feel like even the folks who have passed on, as far as if something was done wrong, I'm their voice also. So that has become my space. So with LinkedIn, I find that I do post regularly. I have my featured posts. I do a lot of networking there. And I don't save it. And I'll share with you what I mean, Tim. If I go visit another BNI chapter or a chamber chapter, especially I like to do all my networking virtually. If there's 20 or 30 people on that call, I'm connecting with them on LinkedIn.
Okay, so as part of your system, you go to a virtual networking event, sitting there, looking everyone up, send a connection message. I'm curious, do you find a difference between putting some text or context in the connection message or just sending a sort of connect without note?
Yeah, I literally just connect with them. I don't do the message. I don't even, if somebody says, oh, I know somebody, I'm just like, just give me their name, I'll connect with them. I don't even need a formal introduction. And it has worked. I'm not sitting here saying it's going to work for everyone, but for me, the folks that I've connected with, and usually I do end those type of calls saying, I've reached out to all of you on LinkedIn, so please accept my invite. So I do say that. So it's not just.
So it's context to say there is invitation there. Go and look for it because we know people aren't on LinkedIn. When you say regularly that you post regularly, how regular is regular?
So I am on LinkedIn probably, and I do have these other 3 jobs, 10 times a day.
Okay, that is not what I was expecting you to say.
Now, it could be random hours, and I'm not posting 10 times a day, but I'm always connecting, accepting invites, giving kudos. It is truly the giver's gain, right? So for example, I'll get off our podcast. I'll probably go to your site on LinkedIn and do some niceties that I feel that I've gotten from you by being on your podcast. So I do that with the true intention of just showcasing, highlighting people. So
Yeah.
but again, remember that I don't have a TV or a radio. So a lot of people, I think, if you really added it up, they probably do a lot less on social media because they're watching it. I'm actively participating.
Yeah, I think there's a really good lesson in that. Create, not consume. Years ago, I ran a social media site for 14 years, actually predating LinkedIn and Facebook by quite a few years. But one of the things that I created was I called it influence pyramid. And the top of the pyramid was the sort of content creator, right? The thought leadership space. And it's quite difficult to be a thought leader, right? Sometimes you need to go and consume other people's content to kind of formulate and validate your own thoughts, to create your own ideas and be that thought leader. Below thought leader there is people who share that content, right? So Tanya, if you were to create something and I go and share your post and add value in some way, either agreeing with you or providing a counterpoint and a different perspective, right? That is me sharing your content, right? But I have less influence than you do by creating that content in the first place. Below that is people who comment, below that, people who like, and below that are people who lurk, right? Very easy to lurk on social media. In fact, 90 to 95% of people, I estimate, without any kind of proper statistical research whatsoever, spend most of their time consuming other people's content, not creating that content and actually influencing down from that. And if we look at that, if we think about that pyramid in terms of what we need to be doing, the more time we spend in the comment, share, and create space, the more influence we'll have on everyone below us in the pyramid. You sort of come around to our way of thinking. So I really love that. So however much time that you can fit in and around your Netflix habit, right? You need to be looking at, how do I create more content and how do I engage with people? I really loved you pointed out, you just sort of pulled out a little nugget there, that once you connect with someone, that you go and engage and add value in some way. So
True.
it might be I presume, a testimonial. It might be going and liking and adding value to one of their posts, or highlighting it or sharing it. And the more we do of that, the more influence we create with that person.
Correct. And I really focus on gratitude. So I'll give you an example. So today we had 2 events at campus at the college, and, connected with people that I haven't seen. Students were there, people's family came. So I embrace every interaction that I have. So in addition to focusing on you after the podcast, I will go and thank people for coming out or connecting personally, like personally going on these LinkedIn. So when I say I'm on there 10 times a day, I'm not saying I'm on there 10 hours a day. I can go on for 10 minutes and do a lot of things in 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So we connected with someone. What's the next step in process? How do you turn a connection? And this is the perennial question for people on social media in all
Sure.
sort of contexts.
Sure.
How do you turn a connection that you've made into a partner or client? What's your process?
So my process is, again, from the point and viewpoint of gratitude. So when I do a LinkedIn request, again, if it's from a marketing group or chamber or any virtual group, I usually will make an announcement during that testimonial point saying that I've reached out. Once I've done that, send the LinkedIn requests. I would say I'm getting probably 95% kind of people connecting with me, accepting it. What I find funny, Tim, this is one thing that's funny. Some people on LinkedIn as much or more than I am, and they don't check their inbox requests, so they keep them, everybody, in a pending status. So for anybody that's listening out there, check your inbox, because people may have a lot more inbox requests than they realize, and that would open up their volume. So the next step, what I do is I always click all to see notifications on any new connection that I make. So to the right, there's a little, I think it's the 3 dots or bell. I believe it's look like a little bell. And I go to everybody that I connect, and I have over, I think, 13,000 connections, but I go, everybody gets a chance at all. And I will see how that works for me. If I'm getting bombarded, if it's too much, too little. I've never turned anyone's off. I literally have everybody is on all. So I get notified every time somebody out of my 13,000 people that they do a connection. And I take the time to read it, connect. And if I feel it's valuable or other people could benefit, I will share. But I'm also cognizant that because of the amount of people that I'm connected with, and I'm on there a lot, if people can probably turn me off, meaning like they can shut the bell on my side, which is fine, because again, it's not everybody is for every person. And then from that point, most people will follow up with an inbox LinkedIn message. That's usually the next step. And it's usually, thank you for endorsing me. Thank you for the connection. Thank you for sharing my post. I usually will give someone twice, as far as I will go out to say, like, if I'm sharing a post with 13,000 people and I don't get any response, I'll do that twice. And because it is a give and take, you're taking your time to send your content out to other people. So I'm very cognizant about that. And again, it's not a matter of being like territorial. It's more about the sense of it is giver's gain. So if you're reaching out to somebody, you're giving a testimonial, you're liking their posts, you're sharing their posts, and you get nothing, it's kind of like, hey, like, what are you doing? Right? Because you also have a lot of people on LinkedIn that it's for them. What can you do for me? Mentality. So that's normal process. Connect with the folks, do the little bell. I get all their notifications, try it out. But again, I think I've been on LinkedIn for, I don't want to say 2017, maybe even, I don't know if they could tell me how long I've been on there a while, but it's a habit, Tim. That's another thing I want to share with the listeners. It's like people who want to get healthy and start working out. Most people are not just going to the gym every day right out of the bat for an hour and a half. You build up. So for somebody that's never done LinkedIn, try bite size. Maybe you do your profile and you spend 5 minutes a day. That's it.
Yeah, put that little 15-minute slot into your calendar that says manage LinkedIn. Respond to comments. Send a
Exactly.
message to someone you want to talk to. Find
Exactly.
5 people that you want to build
Yeah.
a relationship with. Start
Yeah.
talking to them.
Yeah. And even what I find, even in just like waiting here in Miami, there's always traffic jams, right? And I'm not saying, I mean, I try not to text and drive, try to be a responsible driver. But sometimes if you're sitting on the freeway for 30 minutes in lockdown traffic, I could pull out LinkedIn and just do some stuff, like just kind
Yes.
of share,
We
you
do
know?
not endorse texting and driving on this show. It's just a big disclaimer. Yeah, I love that. It's what you're talking about really here is really building genuine connections with people, right? Be
Correct.
of value to them, right? Lift
Yes.
them up as well. And a percentage, not everybody, will actually show that reciprocity as well.
And the other thing too is I'm not selling to anybody. And I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways as a fellow BNIer when we do one-to-ones. Sometimes you have people, it's like they're trying to sell directly to the other person. I'm
Yeah.
not selling to anybody. It's like, here's my stuff, here's what I can offer. But you know what? I'm just here to make your world a better place. If I can help anybody, that's what I'm about.
Yeah. Let's we always finish the show, Tanya, with a bit of a quick fire. I won't say which is your favorite TV show because you don't have one. But let's go with, if you could be remembered for one thing, what would that be?
If I could be remembered for one thing, it would be for doing the right thing and always being the voice that for anybody that doesn't have one. And that's what I truly want to be remembered for.
Yeah. If you had a regret in life, what would that be?
Not going to medical school.
What's your favorite productivity hack?
Favorite productivity hack. So I'm new to the word hack because I'm not on social media. So I just want to make sure I understand the definition. So is it like a quick way to do something?
Quick tip.
A quick tip? Okay, so a quick productivity tip?
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite one is to, if you get up in the middle of the night, try not to spend time falling asleep, get up and do something. So on most nights, I actually probably get another 3 hours of work done, or play on my phone, games, read, do something. It got me through school. I took a second job one time. I can be so productive from like 2 to 6 a.m. And then I go back to sleep for a little while. Best hack in the world.
Love that. What do you like about living in Florida?
I love, first of all, the weather. The weather is phenomenal. I love just the culture and the diversity. And I'm more familiar with the west coast of Florida, so Sarasota, Venice area. Free beaches over there, water's gorgeous. It's just a spectacular. East Coast, even though I've been here since 2018, I'm still getting used to it. I'm geographically challenged, so I don't really know many places except school and home. And I live a real sheltered life. A funny tip, Tim, I've only seen 10 movies in my life.
If you could have coffee with any person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I would say Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is the goddess of compassion, and it's spelled with a Q or a K, depending on the depiction. And I just have resonated with that goddess of compassion since I started in school back in 2003, and I collected her. And I didn't know that all my little statues, including my lamps, were all depictions of Kuan Yin. So I would love to have a conversation with Kuan Yin.
Love that. You're an incredibly driven person, Tanya, but have you ever thought about giving up? And if so, how did you tackle that?
So one thing that I have learned is, yes, we all have rainy days and cloudy days. And sometimes for me personally, I have to allow the storms to come in and just kind of go with the wave and really try to embrace and regroup. Kind of like when you fly on an airplane and they say, put your mask on first, you have to go in. And that's what I've learned to do. I remember there's a quote, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but like Anais, it talks about the flower bud that when the pain becomes, actually, I just sent it to somebody the other day, something about like when the pain is, you have to like release. So I think for me, always getting my word out, my verbiage out. I'm not for everybody. There's probably people out there that whatever, they don't understand it. But I think my true mission is truly to be the voice in the world. And sometimes people don't know what to do with it, but my personality is one that I hope to be non-abrasive. So I try to concentrate on that aspect. So I'm not one of these braggadocious people. Like, I truly am coming it from a point of helpfulness and gratitude.
Love that. Lastly, if you were to go back to your 16-year-old self and give that young girl one piece of advice, what would it be?
First of all, I feel like saying The Wizard of Oz, which I have seen 3 times, okay? So The Wizard of Oz, I would just say that we all have the answers within us. And at 16 years old, I was more trying to seek out outside folks, for example, being married very young and seeking out that happiness factor, as opposed to just realizing that it's within me and it's within all of us.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Thanks, Tanya. I really appreciate your insights and advice and what you've shared with us on today's show. You've been very, very kind to offer a one-on-one consultation on how you can inspire someone with a career change or navigating the senior placement arena. I presume that's kind of relevant to just about anywhere in the world, not just in the US. So if you're listening from other parts of the world, reach out to Tanya as well. She can probably give you some insights or advice onto that space. You can catch Tanya. We'll put the links for Tanya's sort of connections in the show notes as well, so you can grab those from there. But Tanya, I want to thank you for sharing your time with us today, and it's been fantastic.
Thank you, Tim, for the opportunity, and I'm grateful for being able to share my story.
Guys, if you've enjoyed today's More Clients, Less Effort, please like, share, and follow us so that you won't miss any other episodes. You can hit the bell to subscribe and get notified when we drop an episode, and we'll catch you again real soon. Take care.